is up, my Shadowverse soldiers, and welcome back to another Shadowverse Evolved video. So last time we were talking about the top listings and all the topping decks that happened in the LCQs. We were figuring out what the Uma meta was looking like and, whatnot. I hope everyone had a good time topping or just being at the event in general. I'm hoping everyone had a really good time. Hopefully I can join you guys and have a grand old time. But today we're going to be talking about the set 3 reveals for Abysscraft. So what I've kind of read over, there's some support for the control matchup, that being, the hand control cards. I saw that they posted a card, that being Dark Alice. So I'm looking forward to that. And I see that there's also going to be some extra ghost line. We're going to get an extra ghost token in set 3. So let's go ahead and figure out what cards are coming out in set 3. Alright, so the first card we're looking at is Batcherous Peppy Ghosty. So this is another one of those ghost cards that I was talking about earlier, but this card is treated as a ghost in addition to its other's names, and you can evolve it for 1. So, but when it comes into play, if there's a Gargantuan ghost token on the field, you draw a card. So it seems like if there's like the Gargantuan token ghost that's on the field and then you play this, you get to pay 1 to draw 1, honestly. So let's figure out what this evolve does. Alright, and the evolved version of Batcherous Peppy Ghosty is that it still has Ghost in addition to its other names, and its last words is you put this card into your EX area. So I don't know if there's any cards that kind of combo with it, like hey, you remove a Ghost card in your EX area, and then you get this, or you have the potential of playing another Ghost card. I don't know if this card will cost 1 or whatnot, but in addition to its other areas, it's still a Ghost, so there's probably an effect where you can put a ghost into your EX area, into like the banished area or into your cemetery, and you can get an effect. So that's what I'm thinking so far. But if it's just a rough translation, then let me know in the comments below, guys. Moving forward, we have Dark Alice. So she has Rush, and then she has a Strike ability. So when she swings, each opponent discards a card. And then when she dies, she has last words. You banish the top 10 cards of your deck and put this card onto your field and discard a card. So it's a pretty good card for Abyss hand control. That being in the later turns, if there's something that's on the field, Olivia can only do so much. She does do everything that you need to, make your opponent pitch, and then you could either draw or heal or gain an evil point. Yeah, that's nice, but that doesn't really deal with the problem sometimes. Let's say I'm looking at a Shenlong. Well, hey, look, Dark Alice can swing that next turn, swing at Shenlong, and make them pitch a card, which, they did for Shenlong. Now they're pitching another card. And then, if Shenlong has that extra stats to kill Dark Alice, I can do the last words, and then put her back onto the field, banish those 10, discard a card, and then swing at something else if I need be to, clear the board, and then make them get rid of another card. So Dark Alice is definitely a card that's definitely going to be very good in the Abyss hand control variant of Abysscraft. So I'm looking forward to seeing Dark Alice in play. Next up, we have Demon Maestro. So you can activate to give your leader -2. You draw a card, and this ability can only be activated once per turn. So this reminds me of Fairy Beast. If you have like a Fairy EX token in your EX area, you can banish it and you heal 3 and draw a card. So this is at like any timing that if you want to just lose 2 defense. So this is a pretty good card if you need like Sanguine in your deck. If like there's no Sanguine in your deck and you needed something like cheap, this is something you can just hit Sanguine at any time, and then give yourself -2, draw a card, and Sanguine's active for you. So I see Demon Maestro being a possible staple for Abysscraft. Alright, next up we have Demonium Punk Devil. So he has Ward, and his last word, so when he dies, you give your leader +2 defense, and you can activate on your turn at any time. You can give your leader -2 defense, and you give this follower Bane. This ability can be activated once per turn. So a Ward with Bane is definitely very hard to get through, because you have to sacrifice 1 follower to just swing into this guy, and make sure that it's the right stats to just kill it. So if you're going to swing at this thing and then they subtract 2 from their life, get ready to lose a follower, so you get a 1 for 1. This isn't too bad for a 2-drop. And then also when he dies, you give your leader that +2 back. So that's a pretty good, if they don't use a spell to get rid of this and they just get a 1 for 1, I'd say that it's a pretty good trade-off. Alright, next up we have Devilish Flautist. I'm pretty sure it's Flutist. But so it has Rush and then Fanfare. You discard a random card and then give this follower +1 and Drain. So I feel like this is a crazy RNG card just to remove a random card. This is definitely a bronze card. I don't see this being very practical, but if it does work, then, you know, if there's like a discard line for Abysscraft, this would probably be the follower you would look at first. Alright, next up we have our second Fable card, that being the Furtive Fangs. So for one, you can select a follower on your field, and for the rest of this turn, it has the following effect. Strike, select an enemy follower on the field, and it deal it X damage. X equals this follower's attack. So let's say I have Dark Alice, and I'm swinging with Dark Alice, and then I did the Furtive Fangs prior to me swinging, so Dark Alice procs off her strike with the, hey, discard a card. And then also, if there's a follower on the field that has at least, you know, 6 health, or, you know, if it even has even more than 6 health, Dark Alice is going to be swinging either something for 6 and then dealing 6 to something else. So I feel like that's a pretty good card for, this is a pretty good card for like late game cards, especially, you know, if your opponent maybe like floods the board, and, you know, before the instance of Dark Alice, they're getting hand controlled, so their mental is like, alright, well, I'm going to play everything I can in my hand. Well, too bad, I have a card that can get rid of 2 cards, so good luck with that. So I feel like Furtive Fangs might actually be pretty good in like the late game. Alright, next up we have Infernal Orchestration. So you deal 1 damage to your leader, and you get +1/+1 to the next follower you play this turn. I can already see that Abyss Aggro is having a field day with this card already, because I know Skeleton Fighter, if Sanguine is active, you know, he already gets that, he's 3/3. And then now with this card, he's going to be a 4/4. So that looking at you so early in the game is pretty nasty, and I can already see the combos that's going to be happening with Abyss Aggro. So this is the card for Abyss Aggro that came out of the set for sure, if no other card comes out. Next up we have Masquerade Ghost. So this is another one of those ghost cards I was talking about. So for 4, you can evolve 1 to evolve this follower, and whenever a ghost is put onto your field, you give a +1 attack. So I feel like, you know, with Phantom Howl, this is actually pretty good because all those ghosts come out and they have Storm, and they'll be attacking for 2 each time. So let's figure out what Masquerade does on the Evo. Alright, so the Masquerade Ghost Evo, so it still does whenever a ghost is put onto the field, you give a +1 attack, but whenever a ghost token leaves your field, you summon a Gargantuan Ghost token. And then last word, so when this dies, you put this card into your EX area. So yet again, I'm not sure if there's like a skill where you get rid of a ghost in your EX area, you can get this effect, but I'm not sure if you're able to play this card again for 4 since it evolved. I'm just not entirely sure, I'm so sorry guys. But I'm assuming that there's definitely going to be a skill where you can remove like a ghost in your EX area and you can get some plus effect for yourself. Next up we have Mischievous Zombie, so you evolve him for 2. But when he comes into play, you discard a card and you summon a ghost token. If you discarded a departed card, draw a card. So I'm not sure if some followers are departed. I'm pretty sure there are a couple cards in the set that are departed. I just don't have an exact translation of it due to my lack of non-Japanese. Forgive me, guys. So it looks like if you're running the ghost line of the deck, this will definitely be a pretty good card, because if you discard a departed card, you definitely get to just plus. It's like a Trail of Light. Moving on to the Evil for Mischievous Zombie. So on Evolve, you select the ghost on your field and give it Bane. So any of your ghosts that you have on your field, after you play Mischievous Zombie and then Evo, then, you know, any ghost that you've played on your turn, or any ghost that's a follower that's still on your turn, gains Bane, and then that also helps if they have Ward too. So I can see that being a nice, pretty good combo. Moving forward, we have Adile Black Swan. So on strike, when she swings, you deal 2 damage to each enemy leader and enemy follower on the field. And then when she comes into play, Fanfare, you deal 2 damage to each enemy leader and enemy follower on the field. And then Necrocharge 20 gives this follower Storm. So if you can meet those requirements in the late game to get the Necrocharge 20, I think in the Necrocharge version of the deck, this definitely will be able to like see play very fast. But in a normal Abysscraft, that being aggro or like, you know, hand control, that probably won't be too optimal. But, you know, Abysscraft now has a follower that is essentially kind of like a little board wipe. But the other thing that it comes with is that even though, you know, Abysscraft does have like a little board wipe, there's so many conditions for it to be met for, you know, to even just do strike and, you know, for the Fanfare too. So it's just a lot going on with this card. Yeah, when you play it, you deal 2 to everything. That's nice. But, you know, to get that extra strike to deal 2 to everything on the field as well, that extra 2, you know, how practical is that? So I think Adile Black Swan is a pretty good 5-drop, pretty good stats, 6/4. You know, the Fanfare, you deal 2 to everything, that's nice. But, you know, on the strike, can you do it the same turn as played? Not every situation, but, you know, if you get into that late game and there's so many cards in your cemetery, then yeah, this is a pretty good card. Next up, we have Parade Raven. So on play, Fanfare, you put another follower on your field into your cemetery. Then you select a follower in your cemetery that costs 5 or less and put it onto your field. So the first thing I can think about is the Olivia loop. So let's say I swing with Olivia, and then I play Parade Raven, you know, in those later turns. And then, you know, you put Olivia into your cemetery, and then you play Olivia again, and you can get those Olivia Fanfare effects again. So that's like the #1 combo I can think of when I see this card, and I see this ability. So Parade Raven might be a little bit like maybe a 1 of or a 2 of, and so you can have that consistency instead of, you know, Death's Breath. Next up, we have Pumpkin Necromancer with absolutely beautiful art, by the way. So when she comes into play, you put a Gargantuan Ghost token into your EX area. Gargantuan token cost 1, it's a 3/3 with Ward. Next up, we have Trombone Devil. So you can evolve him for 1, and you evolve this follower, and at the start of your end phase, if Sanguine is active for you, select the enemy leader or enemy fall on the field and deal it 3 damage. So a 5-drop that's essentially Dracomancer's Rights in the form of Abysscraft. You just have to make sure you've dealt damage to yourself and this card survives until the end of your end phase. Well, I'm pretty sure as turn player, your end phase stuff goes off and then your opponent can respond. So they're going to take the 3 if Sanguine's active for you, or, you know, it goes to the follower. No matter what happens, if Sanguine's active for you, you have Trombone Devil out, then, you know, this happens and then your opponent can respond. So that's probably how the situation goes. Alright, and the Evo for Trombone Devil is at the start of your end phase, if Sanguine is active for you, select the enemy leader on the following field and deal it 3 damage. But on Evo, you deal 1 damage to each leader. So it's a pretty cute ability for an Evo. Is it worth? I'm not sure, but I know mostly if you're going to be running the Trombone Devil, it's for that little Dracomancer's Rights on just the regular version of it. Alright, and we have the Gargantuan Ghost token. So I'm so sorry, I thought that before that I'd put the Gargantuan token in like in the middle of it, and I sure enough did not. But this is the Gargantuan token, it has Ward, and at the start of your main phase, you banish this card. So instead of Ghost leaving at the end of your main phase and being banished, you know, if this card survives your opponent's next turn, then, you know, it gets banished at the start of your turn. So that is the Gargantuan Ghost. Alright guys, that is the end of the video. I appreciate you guys watching. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you're new here, welcome. If you're returning, then I hope to see you guys in the next one. Make sure you're safe whatever you do tonight and safe whatever you do for the rest of the year. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.
I gave you all my love, baby, my heart is cold when you're around. You warm it up, liquid gold, baby, yeah, you warm it up, liquid gold, baby, and my affection, all that paper you wasted. Take my love.